Hey guys, welcome back to Triple Double Nation. Today we're looking at the NBA's 10 least known records that will shock you. Let's get right into the video. Lowest scoring game, Pistons vs Lakers, 37. I had nothing to back this claim up, but something tells me that there were more fans asleep in the stands on November 22nd, 1950 than there were points scored on the court. And the lowest scoring game of all time, the Fort Wayne Pistons beat the Minneapolis Lakers 19-18 that day. Unfortunately, I don't have any data on field goal attempts or pace of play, so I can't tell you why exactly this happened. That said, it was clearly an aberration as the Pistons never scored less than 64 points again that season, and the Lakers never dropped below 63. George McCann scored 15 of the 18 points for the Lakers, and only 2 other players scored. No player scored more than 5 for the Pistons. Longest game, Olympians vs Royals, 6 overtimes. For 78 minutes on January 6, 1951, the Indianapolis Olympians battled the Rochester Royals and came out on top after 6 overtimes with a 75-73 victory to improve record to 16-16. And seriously, why can't we just have names like that anymore? The offensive struggled all game long, but really stalled once the extra time started ticking down off the clocks. Their teams each managed just 4 points in the first 4 overtimes combined, including completely scoreless second and fourth overtimes. There was an offensive exploding during the 5th overtime when the Royals and Olympians combined for 8 points. Then the Olympians prevailed by scoring a basket in the final period while holding the Royals scoreless. 2 players scored 17 points for Indianapolis, including Alex Garza, the former Kentucky standout. Most consecutive ejections, Don Boven, 6. Playing for the Milwaukee Hawks during the 1951 and 52 season, Don Boven somehow managed to rack up 6 fouls and be ejected in not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, but 6 consecutive games. I really don't know too much about Boven other than that ridiculous record. He played in the NBA for 3 seasons and finished with his career with averages of 9.0 points, 4.2 rebounds, and 2 assists per game while playing swingman for the Waterloo Hawks, Milwaukee Bucks, and Fort Wayne Pistons. Worst record to qualify for the playoffs, Baltimore Bullets, 16-54. During the 1952 and 53 season, the Baltimore Bullets somehow finished with a 16-54 and made it into the postseason. At the time, the NBA was only comprised of 10 teams that were split up into 2 divisions of 5, the Eastern Division and the Western Division. Unlike the modern day when only the best of the bunch qualified for the postseason, 4 teams made the playoffs from each division. Of the 5 in the Eastern Division that year, the New York Knickerbockers went 47-23, the Syracuse Nationals went 47-24, the Boston Celtics went 46-25, the aforementioned Bullets went 16-54, and the Philadelphia Warriors went 12-57. This extreme lack of parity led to the Bullets' postseason appearance. Highest scoring regulation game, Boston Celtics, 173. On February 27, 1959, the Boston Celtics managed to drop a ridiculous 173 points in a 34-point victory against Elgin Baylor and the Minneapolis Lakers. While this would have been a special victory even if it took a few overtime periods to amass that many points, the C's did all their damage in regulation. The third quarter was the lowest scoring period for Boston, and they still managed to score 38 points. The highest scoring one was the fourth quarter, a 52-point explosion. Tommy Hyson paced the Celtics with 43 points, and Bob Cousy finished second with 31 points. Bill Sharman and Frank Ramsey both broke the 20-point barrier, and Sam Jones, amazingly enough, was one of just 2 players on the team to score in single figures. When Maurice Podoloff, the president of the league, heard about the game, he supposedly exclaimed, 173-139? That's unbelievable. Most assists, single half, Bob Cousy, 19. Bob Cousy somehow managed to set a number of assist records in addition to scoring his 31 points. He ended up with 28 in the game, 13 more than the entire collection of players known as the Minneapolis Lakers. That was a record at the time that no longer stands, as you'll see later. He had 12 assists in a single quarter, a number that wasn't broken until John Lucas dished out 14 dimes in the second quarter of a 1984 game against the Denver Nuggets. But the record I'm focusing on here is the ridiculous 19 assists that Kuz amassed in just one half of the ridiculously high-scoring game. Most minutes per game, single season, Wilt Chamberlain, 48.5. Throughout the 1961 and 62 season with the Philadelphia Warriors, the same season in which he averaged 50.4 points and 25.7 rebounds per game, Wilt Chamberlain somehow managed to stay on the court for 48.5 minutes per contest. There are 48 minutes in a typical regulation basketball game now. Back then, that rule remained the same. Wilt had enough endurance to stay on the court and dominate for the duration of each and every game. Plus, he found himself playing a large role in 5 overtime contests, a double overtime loss to the New York Knicks, and a triple overtime loss to the Los Angeles Lakers. In terms of stamina, this was the pinnacle for the man who holds innumerable records and averaged 45.8 minutes per game throughout his illustrious career. Most games played single season, Walt Bellamy, 88. The 1968 and 1969 season had its fair share of strange occurrences. None was stranger than the curious case of Walt Bellamy. Bellamy began the season on the New York Knicks, averaging 15.2 points and 11.0 rebounds per game during the 35 games he spent with his team. But on December 19, 1968, the team decided to trade Bellamy and Howard Comins to the Detroit Pistons for Dave DeBusschere. At the time, though, the Pistons had played 6 less games than the Knicks, so instead of 47 more opportunities to make his mark, Bellamy had 53. He capitalized on each and every one of them in those 53 games. Bellamy averaged 18.8 points and 13.5 rebounds per contest. But as impressive as those numbers are, the fact that he appeared in 88 games in a single season is the most impressive part. Most points scored single quarter, Buffalo Braves, 58. Led by John Havlicek and Dave Cowens, the Boston Celtics were absolutely blowing out the Buffalo Braves on October 20th, 1972. At the end of 3 quarters, the C's were up 103-60, and the game seemed over. But the Braves had a miraculous comeback on their minds. Benefiting no doubt from a decreased level of effort and talent on the floor for the Celtics, they outscored the Celtics by 35 points and ended up losing the game by just 8. In the process, they scored 58 points in that 4th quarter, a number that remains higher than any other single quarter point total for a team in NBA history. I wish that I could tell you who stepped up in that final period, but I'm only left with the box score and don't have access to any video or play-by-play data. Most blocks, single game, Elmore Smith, 17. During his 8-year career in the NBA, Elmore Smith averaged 2.9 blocks per game, including a leading campaign during the 1973 and 74 season, in which he averaged 4.9 per contest. But his career highlight from an individual perspective came on October 28, 1973, in a 111-98 victory against the Portland Trail Blazers. Playing for the Los Angeles Lakers, Smith rejected 17 of the Blazers' shots, a number that still stands as a single-game record. He had to do something to overshadow Gail Goodrich's explosion for 49 points. Once again, just as with Mark Eaton's blocks per game record, this mark may have been eclipsed by Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, or some other defensive monster who played before the start of this 1973 and 74 season. Highest scoring game, Pistons vs. Nuggets, 370 points. On December 13, 1983, the Detroit Pistons beat the Denver Nuggets in a triple overtime game that set many records as any other game in NBA history. The most notable record of all was that the two teams combined to score 370 points, 186 for the Pistons and 184 for the Nuggets, in the highest scoring game in NBA history. This happened despite the fact that Isaiah Thomas hit the Pistons' only 3-pointer and Richard Anderson matched his lone make from downtown for the Nuggets. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, please leave a like rating down below and comment which record shocked you the most. See you guys next time. Have a great day.